week, Nuchumash Sefer Bamidbar, our fourth cycle of doing these videos. So shkoyach to you and thank you to all the viewers. This week we discussed the concept of the Leviim because we find very interesting in the Parsha. We find on the one hand HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying that he took the Leviim, but then later on we find HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you take the Leviim. So where is he taking them to? Who is taking them? What is going on over here?
Yeah, we saw how this concept of taking really has these two sides, and how one side is just not enough, and how it's so important that we not only back then, we saw how this process continues until today, where we still continue to have a mitzvah connected to what comes out of these psukim.
Exactly. And as we usually do, we talked about the beautiful Hebrew language. There's so much to see in the words the Torah uses, and of course, we connected it to Yom Yerushalayim, to the celebration of Yerushalayim that we are celebrating today here in Eretz Yisrael and around the Jewish world. This monumental moment in our history. Hope you enjoy it. Take a look. So, new Chumash, new week, and before we start, just again, Mazal Tov to us for starting our fourth cycle of doing these videos every single week. Thank you everyone again for watching these week after week. Really appreciate all the comments, all the subscribers, all the different messages we get throughout the week. Thank you very much. Keep them coming. Hope you enjoy these videos and feel free to spread the Torah around and share with more friends. This week, what I want to talk about in Parashat Bamidbar is the very interesting topic of the Leviim of Shevet Levi. We've discussed in the past, why do Shevet Levi not get a piece of land? We've discussed also in the past a little bit the concept of Chorah, of being the firstborn. And in this week's parasha, we find something very interesting, because in the first part of the parasha, after Am Yisrael is being counted, we find HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying to Moshe that he has chosen the Leviim to be the representatives of Am Yisrael instead of the firstborn. And Chazal explained this is because the firstborns sinned in Chet HaEgel, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to take Shevet Levi that did not sin in that great sin. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Hine lakachti, I took them to me to be the representatives. And then the Torah goes into the counting of Shevet Levi, into showing us who Shevet Levi are, how many of them they are. However, then after that counting, suddenly we find HaKadosh Baruch Hu turning to Moshe and saying to Moshe, Moshe, you now have to take Shevet Levi and make them the representatives for Am Yisrael instead of the Bechorot, instead of the firstborns. And you really have to ask, what is going on? Didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu just say that they have already become the representatives? Didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu say that he took them to be the representatives? So why is he now telling Moshe suddenly to take them again to be the representatives? What is going on? What is the Torah telling us over here? Why does the Torah tell us in these different places that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the Leviim, or does Moshe Rabbeinu have to take them? And where is he taking them to? What is this idea of taking the Leviim? What is this all about?
Yeah, this really seems almost the same language. Oh, I've taken them? Oh, take them. And it also repeats the same concept of I've taken them instead of the firstborn. Take them instead of the firstborn. And we know, by the way, that here, with take them instead of the firstborn, it's much more than just a theoretical thing. He actually has to count the firstborn, do one for one, compare how many Levites we have, how many firstborn we have, one for one, and we have some extras, so we have a problem, so we have to have the pidyon, which we continue until today, the concept of pidyon aben, that we have there, where they have to match exactly, and those that are extra we have to have a solution for. So we actually have two parts of what we're talking about. One is the choosing of the Leviim, and the other is the Bechorot, the firstborn, being the ones that are being replaced. And maybe what's happening here is exactly those two sides. There's the first side, which is Hashem choosing who he wants instead of the firstborn. And that's, he's saying, oh, I have chosen the Leviim. But here, the focus is now you have to take the Leviim, not just take them instead, take them in replacement, one for the Bechorot. And why is that so important? Why do you have to actually do real action to show that you're doing this? I think this connects to a very deep idea. This isn't just a story, oh, you know, it was the Bechorot, it's not the Bechorot anymore, now we have the Leviim. Because if that was the case, we don't have to talk about the Bechorot. We don't need one for one. Let's throw them out and let's take someone else. That's not the point. Hashem wants us to remember and to continue to feel that it is the Bechorot. Those are the ones that were chosen. And they were chosen from the day we came out of Mitzrayim. They were chosen from then. They are the ones that represent us. And why is that? Because as opposed to the Leviim, which is a certain tribe, but if we think of the concept of Bechorot and how different that is, the firstborn means more or less that every single family had someone who was representing them in the Beit Mikdash. That is the original way it should should be. And not only is that the original way it should be, that's how you should continue to feel even going forward. Even once it's the Leviim that are chosen that are there, you have to feel, no, it's not the Leviim. The Leviim are there representing my firstborn, and the Leviim are there representing your firstborn. And every single one and every single tribe has a representative. The Leviim are just there instead of. And this concept is pointed out over and over, because earlier in the Psukim, when Hashem's telling Moshe that he has to give the Leviim to the Mikdash, to Aaron, to serve, he uses a very interesting word, netunim hem. They are given. Why are you repeating it? It says v'natata, that's once, and then netunim. They're given. We get the point. You're giving them to the Mikdash. They're supposed to work in the Mikdash. What is this concept of they're given? But I think that's exactly the point. Them being chosen is not a one-time thing. It didn't happen back then and then it was over. No, if we read the Psukim, we notice it's netunim hem alo me'et b'nei Yisrael. Am Yisrael is giving, is constantly giving. Every single time a Levi walks up to the Mikdash, does one of these jobs in the Mikdash, he's being given. It's something that the Am Yisrael is giving. They're representing the Bechorot. Every single time until today, there's a Pidyon Ben. It's again this netunim, this constant Am Yisrael giving, not just a korban, not just donating something to the Mikdash. It's giving themselves. It's giving their firstborn, which we've spoken about, represents yourself, represents your family, the beginning of your family. Every single family, even if it's the Leviim there, everyone should feel that their firstborn is there. And I think that's what's going on here. It's not enough that Hashem chose the Leviim. That's one side of the thing. The other side is now you have to actively have Am Yisrael choose the Leviim, take the Leviim from within them, from their firstborn, one for one, and constantly give them to the Mikdash so they feel that connection that was supposed to be, but not only was supposed to be, continues to be, but is expressed through the Leviim.
Very good. Like you're saying, really, it's important to know that this concept of lakachti, to take something, so usually when you take something, you show that you want it. That's why you're taking it. So obviously, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the Leviim, he wanted the Leviim to be the representatives. But the problem with taking, usually it is that it's a one-sided action. Usually when someone is taking something, you don't know if the other side that it was taken from agrees to that thing being taken, agrees to what is going on. And starting off over here, this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu. He says to him, I took them already. Now it's time for you to take them too. But what does it mean for you to take them too? And there's a very, very famous Gemara in the beginning of Masechet Kiddushin. Anybody that learned the sugyas over there knows that the fact that we have a wedding today with a chuppah, with edim, with a ring, and we do this whole process over there is because the pasuk says ki ikach ishisha, that a man takes a woman. But then the Gemara learns, how do we know that this lakachat, this kicha, the shorish of lamed kuf chet actually means to take something, actually means an actual process of acquiring a relationship? We know that from Avraham Avinu, because we know over here that a man takes a woman, but by Avraham Avinu we see kesef hasadeh natati kach mimeni. Avraham says to Ephron, when he comes to buy the land for Ma'arat HaMachpelah, for the grave for Sarah, he says, take the money from me, take it from me. He's on the giving side, and he insists to Ephron that Ephron should be taking from him, so that this acquisition, this relationship between them will be a two-sided relationship. It won't be a one-sided thing where Abraham just takes from Ephron and Ephron gets nothing back, and who knows, later on in life Ephron might come back demanding with his own demands to get back something in return, because that's how this works. That's how the world many times works. And also you mentioned the words netunim that repeat themselves over here from the shorish natan of nun, taf nun. This is a palindrome. This is a word that can be read from both directions, can be read from both ways, because this is the kind of relationship we are talking about over here, where both sides have to show a desire in this kinyan, in this purchase, in order to have this kiddushin, in order ki kach ishisha. It has to be based on kesef hasadeh natati kach mimeni. Both sides have to agree to it. Both sides have to be wanting and desiring that relationship. And the same thing over here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, I took them already, I chose them already. Now you have to show that also Am Yisrael are willing and are in this relationship and want the Leviim to represent them too. Maybe this is what's behind this shorish of lekicha, why it happens twice, based on this concept of natan, of giving, of nun taf nun, that again can be read from both ways, because this is what it's about. It's a two-way relationship. On the one hand, lakachti, but it's also a natati. In order to have a real netina, you need to have lakachti from both sides again, and this is our relationship also with the Torah. Ki lekach tov natati lachem, I gave you a good lekach, I gave you something good that you would want to take, so take it. And we show that we want it. It's Shavuos when we got the Torah again, and every single year we anticipate and get the Torah again. This This is our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not only our relationship between Am Yisrael and Shevet Levi, but also our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Each one of us, our relationship with the Torah, it's a two-way relationship where we were given it, but we also take it upon ourselves every single day from the beginning, from new again. And you know, being on Yom Yerushalayim here in Eretz Yisrael, the day we celebrate finally getting Makom HaMikdash back to the Jewish hands, to our hands after 2,000 years of Galus. Mamash, a dream come true, and we've discussed in the past also what's so important about this piece of land. Couldn't it be a little piece of land on the side? But also when you look in the Navi, David HaMelech, when he came to buy this piece of land, the exact same story as with Ephron and Avraham happened also over there with Arvana Yevusi, the guy who was in charge of the Yevusi, who had that piece of land over there, says to David, take it, do with it whatever you want. You can bring on it whatever sacrifices you want. And David HaMelech insists on not just taking it, but actually also giving to him money, paying in full for that piece of land, because David HaMelech wanted to ensure that this piece of land will eternally be ours, and no one throughout the generations will be able to claim ownership to that piece of land, because that piece of land is ours. This is what we're celebrating today. This is what Yom Yerushalayim is. This is why this day is so special and such an amazing privilege we have to live in our days, to live in our generation, where we get to go there every single day and to see it. However, the Mikdash is still not built. There's still more work to do, and this work is up to us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought us all the way to the Kotel, all the way to Har HaBayit. But now to get the Mikdash back, it's up to us. It's back to our deeds, back to our actions to live the best life, the right way we can live in order to be worthy of receiving the Mikdash. So Baruch Hashem, we have a lot to thank for, but also we have a lot of work still. And in Mitzvah Hashem, we should be zocheh to see the base of Mikdash be built very, very soon.
Amen, amen. You know, there's something that's really interesting about all this. I mean, we think it's an obvious thing, right? Back in Mitzrayim, when Hashem punished the firstborn of Egypt, then the firstborn were chosen. And that's what it says here. The Yom HaKoti, the day that I hit the firstborn of Egypt, I had chosen, I had sanctified, Hikdashti, I had dedicated, as we've discussed, the firstborn to me. And the question is, why? What is the connection? We have the Makot, we have the 10 plagues, there were many other plagues. There was Choshech and Arbe and Tzfardeim. We don't dedicate frogs. You know, why suddenly, because there was a punishment to the Egyptians, then suddenly that somehow has to connect to us? But we've discussed in the past that the story of the Bechorot is not just Makat Bechorot. The first thing that Moshe tells Am Yisrael, in that first moment, that first second when they leave Mitzrayim, and it's all behind them, the first thing he talks about is Peterechet, is the mitzvah of the firstborn. And we explained it's not just the mitzvah of the firstborn, it's the concept of sanctifying, of dedicating yourself to something. And that's, I think, what this is all about. In the day we left Egypt, that day, not a day later, the moment we left Egypt and we were free, that's when we were told, it's not just about you being free and not being under the firstborn of the Egyptians and getting rid of them, and now you're free and you can have fun and you can do whatever you want. No. You receive that freedom so you can do something with it. Now your firstborn should be dedicated. You should dedicate towards something of value. Don't just leave Egypt and now be free. Leave Egypt and now dedicate yourself. Dedicate from yourself towards something that's positive. And that starts there and continues here when we dedicate the Leviim from Am Yisrael instead of the Bechorot, and continues to happen every single time in every Pidyon Ben, but also every single time we dedicate a moment or something of our life towards our Avodat Hashem, towards something of value.
Exactly. Very good. There's plenty more we can talk about, of course, with the Bechorah, like we did in the past, all the way from Yaakov Avinu, and further on in the generations later on with Yosef, and more of that. However, we're out of time. We'll end here. We've discussed Parshat Bamidbar for the past 3 years, like I mentioned, so there's many more topics you can look up on our YouTube channel. From why is this Chumash called Chumash HaPkudim? What is this Shorish? What is this word in Hebrew, Pakad? What does it mean? Does it mean to count? Does it mean to give a job? Does it mean where Hashem Pakad et Sarah, Kadosh Baruch Hu gave Sarah a baby? What is going on with that Shorish? What is going on with our word? What is that all about? We'll link that video. We've also discussed in the past, what is all this counting about? Because there's so much counting going on. Why do we see this counting again and again and again? We'll link that video too. And again, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to share it around. Like it on YouTube, comment below. And of course, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing and help us grow the channel. And Yitzi, Mitzvah Hashem next week, an early video for Shavuos.
Koyach Tuvia, Shabbat Shalom, and happy Yom Yerushalayim.
Shabbat Shalom, happy Yom Yerushalayim, Chodesh Tov, and in Mitzvah Hashem, we'll talk again next week.